Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/malicious compliance. In today's episode, boss asks me to report 100% of vehicle damage. Everything needs to be displayed according to 5Y old layout plan you have from our company. Yes, I am sure. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Boss asks me to report 100% of vehicle damage. I used to work as a supervisor of a security team at a large industrial facility. I had a good relationship with the manager, we will call him Dave, until he appointed his friend as a middle manager, we will call him Steve, between the supervisors and himself. I did not have a good relationship with Steve at all, and suddenly, Dave started rejecting ideas, suggestions, and requests out of hand. The friendly guy that I used to go and have sit-down chats with regularly became standoffish and outwardly hostile at times. The staff all noticed this as well and would frequently comment that they didn't know what I'd done to Dave and Steve, but it was clear that I was being bullied all of a sudden. It's entirely fair to say that I couldn't do right, for doing wrong all the time, and every little thing I did or did not do resulted in a lengthy email conversation with Dave and Steve. There is a lot I could add to this, but for the sake of brevity, I'm going to move on to the point of my story. The site we had to patrol was about 5 square miles, so vehicles were provided so that we could patrol effectively and carry equipment and personnel to required locations. Part of my duties at the start of the shift were ensuring that the vehicles had not been damaged on the previous shift and that all vehicles had the required levels of equipment in them. The first patrol went out the moment our shift started, and as this was a regulatory requirement, could not be delayed or skipped. This was the start of a night shift, and so, it was dark. Very dark. We had mag light torches, but after 6 years of use and abuse, they weren't exactly brilliant. I didn't find any new damage and so recorded that the vehicles were okay, and recorded their mileage on our check sheets. The next night when I came in, I had a very angry in tone email from Dave demanding to know why my team had damaged one of the vehicles on the previous night. Apparently the vehicle looked as if it had been reversed into a wall. I immediately went to check the vehicle and found 2 extremely small divots in the rear bumper. I found them not by looking but by feeling the bumper. I simply could not see them at all using the light available to me at the time. I then went and asked all my team, and all of them insisted they had not even used the vehicle. I went and checked the vehicle check sheets and found, true to my team's word, that the mileage on the day shift sheet was identical to the night shift sheet. The vehicle had not been moved. I sent an email back to Dave informing him that the vehicle hadn't been used by us and apologized for missing the damage, however lighting had made that extremely difficult. This was my last shift before my scheduled days off, so I was certain that Steve would be pushing Dave to punish me for something by the time I got back. Sure enough, on my first day back in, I was summoned to Dave's office for what we British politely refer to as a bullocking. Dave insisted that he could see the damage in the dark and could actually spot it from about 10 meters away. For context, all of my guys had been shown the damage and all of them, without fail, had said where, when I pointed it out at close range. Not only that, but there was now additional damage that I hadn't spotted and my team was also now responsible for. For Dave and Steve, however, this was good enough to be punitive towards me and my team, and told me that unless a culprit was found and named, I would be held personally responsible and would have to pay the insurance excess to get it fixed. Dave also insisted that the lighting was more than sufficient to spot the damage on the vehicles. I told Dave that this was ridiculous and he couldn't enforce financial penalties on a vehicle that had, again, not been used by my team. Dave was insistent though. It was my job to report 100% of the damage on the vehicles, or I would be held responsible, and at this point, something clicked in my mind, and luckily, Dave decided to back up his instruction with an email that Steve was CC'd into. The next shift, I refused to allow my team to use the vehicles until they had all been fully checked, inside, outside, underneath, mechanically and equipment levels. Each vehicle took about 2 hours. I photographed every single small bit of damage that I found, no matter how insignificant or whether it had been reported previously. Remember, the instruction was to report 100% of damage, not 100% of unreported damage, and send it all in an email to Dave with a text description of the nature and location of the damage for each photograph. There were 162 photographs in total. The first patrol could not be skipped, and so I had to send out of my officers on foot to patrol the site. This meant that the site patrol took nearly 3 hours, and he was not available to fulfill other duties afterwards. It's worth noting at this point that my team were also seeing this as a direct attack on them, rather than just me, so were fully supportive of the measures I was taking. This resulted in the site shift manager demanding answers, to which I was able to tell the shift manager of Dave's instructions, and why I was having to send officers out on foot. I had, and still do have, a great relationship with all of the site shift managers, and so, while he was frustrated, he understood the predicament I had been put in, especially when the instructions were shown him in black and white. This resulted in a financial penalty for my company. Dave was off the next day, so I did the exact same thing again, with the exact same amount of photographs, but all taken again on a fresh inspection. The night shift after, I came to work to find Dave waiting in the office for me. I was allowed to finish my handover with the offgoing supervisor before Dave shut the door and refused to let me leave before he had discussed why he had received multiple emails, over 800 megabits in total. I didn't compress or reduce the size of the photos, and how the company had received a financial penalty, and the regulatory body were coming to speak to him. I reminded him that he had demanded that I report 100% of the damage on the vehicles, and that this had taken time. I couldn't allow any member of the team to use any vehicle until they had been checked, as there could be financial penalties involved. Dave frustratedly pointed out that many of the pics were too dark to see anything anyway, and so most of the photographs were pointless. I apologized for the lighting, but pointed out that he said the lighting was more than sufficient to spot any damage, and so he should be able to easily see the damage I had reported. Dave insisted that I had deliberately misinterpreted his instructions, and he would be taking it to a disciplinary. I informed him that this was no problem. If he could just let me know the date and time, I would inform my union rep, who had been fully appraised of the situation, and was 100% behind my suggestion that I report every single tiny bit of damage on the vehicles. Dave was ultimately left with no choice but to drop any attempts to discipline me, and left Steve to deal with me from that point on. Steve then took up the role of disciplinarian for the next 3 months until I left the job. However, every time he tried, I was able to shut it all down due to briefings with my union rep. I left the job in February of 2019 and still, to this day, receive complaints from members of staff who remain there about how terrible the job has gotten due to Dave and Steve. Everything needs to be displayed according to 5Y old layout plan you have from our company. Yes, I am sure. Hey. Big Mama is back with one of my oldest MCs from back in the days of me working retail and electronic store. TLDR at the bottom. Conversations paraphrased as it was long time ago and in different language. Background. The store I was working at had deals with suppliers, where we not only sold their products, but they were also paying us for a certain space where their products would be displayed. We had the responsibility of restocking it and keeping it in order so it would look nice as stuff were sold out and new were coming in. Roughly once a week a representative from each brand/supplier would come, made it look extra nice, take a picture for his report, chatted to us for a bit, maybe asked us to change few things here and there. Most of them were nice and chill people, and we had a good relationship with them. Well, not this new guy whom we shall call Bruce. Bruce was from a company that had rented an entire shelf, think 8mm wide 2mm tall, in our TV section for every cable you can think of. HDMIs, Coax, AUX and many others in various lengths and prices, including some very premium, read needlessly expensive options. When he came in, it wasn't super tidy since it was in the middle of a busy day, but it was in no way a mess or anything. Just normal people bought some stuff, so it's not beautifully aligned and one or two things are on the wrong hook. Look. He started chewing up one of my underlings, which I overheard and came over right after I finished with my customer. Hi, is something wrong? The hell it is. This is not what we agreed upon. It's all mess. It doesn't look that bad to me, it just needs to be restocked a bit. No, it's all wrong. Look. He said, pointing at the layout on his phone. This doesn't belong here, this doesn't belong here, this should be over there. Instead of that, he was yelling while pulling all the stock from the hooks and dropping it on the ground. Okay, stop, hold on, stop. Let's figure this out. Show me the plan. He handed me his phone. I took a bit to go through it and realized it was not updated for years, as we did not carry most of the products listed there anymore. This was common, as these layouts were more like a guide for us on how things should look like, at least with the other suppliers. See? You no longer send us these ones, or these ones, or these. We do what we can to make it nice, we want to sell too. And do you see these? And these? Those are not listening here, We needed to put them somewhere, and here it makes sense since it's next to these cables. Where else should we put them? All items not listed here go in this miscellaneous bin. Are you new here or something? We send you these layouts for a reason. We expect them to be followed. Is that something you are capable of doing? Of course. Can you send me the layout via email again with maybe some exceptions if you want us go make any? I might have displaced it, I didn't, but I wanted it in writing. Site Sawyer, here you go. I don't want to make you guys look bad, so I'm not gonna take the photo today, but I need to send my report tomorrow. I will stop by in the morning, can you fix it by then? We will get right on that. Sorry about that. He left and I went to my office to check the email. My plot worked perfectly as the email read, please follow attached layout plan. No exceptions. Just to be sure, I called my boss, told him what happened, told him how dumb it is to follow the outdated plan. He knew, but we agreed that that's exactly what he wanted us to do. He approved extra hours for 2 part-time colleagues, and we got to work. First we fixed what he threw on the ground and made it look nice the way we usually do, took a picture, and then started on redoing it according to his wishes. The entire process took about 8 to 10 man-hours, and in the end 2/3 of the shelf were bare as baby bottom. The miscellaneous bin was overflowing in complete mess, and we still had to put few huge boxes of stock back to the warehouse. We took a picture, closed the store, and went home awaiting the upcoming shit show. The next day, both me and my boss had a shift scheduled, and when Bruce arrived, he lost it. My boss politely asked him to deal with it in his office, otherwise he would have him removed from the store. Apparently, he kept blaming us, and in his rage, this dumb with a brain so dense that it could only be examined by a geologist, decided to storm out of the store and placed a campaign on us to his corporate. Needless to say that my boss explained the story to them really well, forwarded Bruce's email and attached picture of before and after that we made the day before. Within 2 hours, 3 guys from the company came and started redoing the whole thing pretty much the same way we had it before. We helped when we didn't have any customers to tend to. They promised to draft and send us new updated layout, but made it clear that we are welcome to adjust it as we see fit based on current stock. We never heard from Bruce again nor had any issues with this company. Thank you for reading and happy Monday to you all. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.